Hello, everyone. I think we're going to have a fairly intimate session today, so it'll be a great opportunity to ask questions, join in the conversation. We love feedback, we love your input. So, my name is Abbey Pint. I oversee marketing at OGx. I want to just say welcome to Responsible AI, and thanks so much for joining us today. This is a special event, a special and exciting subject. AI is a hot topic right now. And as exciting as it is, and as powerful as it can be, it's important that we begin and continue conversations around responsible AI, what that looks like individually and collectively. For those of you less familiar with OGX, we work with a lot of companies on their unique objectives. We assess needs on an individual basis. So whether you're a tech or AI guru, or you're maybe just interested in this topic at large, you're in the right place. We work with folks at every level. So with that said, we'd love the opportunity to discuss your unique needs a little bit further. You're going to see a little QR code throughout the slides. If you scan that, it'll take you to a sign-up form, and we're offering a free assessment right now to connect you with some of the experts at OGX and to kind of run through your personal needs. We'll also have a Q&A at the end. We've got a few questions for you guys throughout the next hour, but I will pass it over now to Alvin, our trailblazer, our fearless leader. He's got some great stuff in store for you guys today. So Alvin, over to you.
All right, Abby, thank you so much. And welcome to all of you. So as we go down this particular path of wanting to discuss AI, one of the key things that, especially with regards to responsible AI, I believe that this question basically sets the tone for how we want to proceed. So when you look at Kay Butterfield, she's the head of AI and machine learning at the World Economic Forum. I stumbled over this quote a couple of weeks ago as I was preparing for responsible AI. And, it's pretty much starts with responsible AI. Is it worth it and can it be achieved? So that will be our thesis for what we'll be looking to explore as we go through this entire presentation today. So as Abby rightly indicated, my name is Alvin McBorrough. I'm with OGX Consulting. We're a technology and management consulting firm based out of Denver, but happen to have an extensive network where we do work across the US, and we do work around strategy that's helping leaders to be able to define how they want to position themselves in the market, what they want to pursue, and how they want to create value for all of their stakeholders. Technology, we believe in the power of technology that is able to drive and provide significant input into how we can have profound impacts on our client organization. And transformation is the other piece, again, around how we believe the work that we do happens to have transformational impact, and how do we take that and bring that into our client organizations. All right, that being said, I would like to draw your attention to this quick graphic art here. And I think this is emblematic of where we are within the industry as it pertains to AI. The first thing that we talk about here is that usually when the question is asked, who loves AI? I believe that everybody raised their hand and say yes, just like the picture up here. The second question is that who's willing to deal with the ethical guidelines of AI? Now, this is what brings us to the point where we begin to ponder over the fact that are we really ready to talk about ethics and all of that? So it's more of a reflection point here. And when the third question was asked, who's willing to take responsibility for the decisions of the algorithms? One of the things that we find is that everybody pretty much seemed to have vanished from the room, right? And this is what we're dealing with within the industry today. There are a lot of things that are beginning to emerge. And again, as part of our responsibility as thought leaders, our responsibilities as business leaders, these are things that we need to start thinking about and start preparing for. All right. So our objective today from the workshop or from this webinar, we'd like to give you a quick overview about AI, the evolution of AI, where it started, where we come today. And that brings us to our current state. We'll look at challenges, risks, and opportunities as well. From there, we also want to start looking at how we're going to get ready for responsible AI. What is the structure approach for implementing responsible AI? From there, we'll have some final thoughts and we'll open it up for Q&A. All right. So moving on is that I would like to first of all set the stage because we will be using a lot of these words throughout the presentation. So just from a clarification perspective, like if we use generative AI, we just want to be able to understand exactly what we're referring to, Chat GPT, or even another one again is around natural language processing. All right. So from an AI perspective or artificial intelligence, it's a field of computer science that focuses on how we're able to build systems to imitate human behaviors, right? That's the bottom line of what we're trying to do when you look at AI. Machine learning is also a subset of AI that pretty much where we develop algorithms for them to be able to parse data, for the data for it to be self-learning, and for that also be able to make some determination and predictions as we move forward in that space. Then the next one is around responsible AI. Responsible AI happens to refer to the guiding principles to govern the development, deployment, and maintenance of AI applications. Over here, this is where we try to interject the human-based thinking and requirements that will be able to help us move along this particular perspective. All right. Then as we look at generative AI, it's primarily how we use prompts for us to be able to generate a body of knowledge or whatever new content that can easily be generated. So I'm sure the most common one that we know of right now is ChatGPT, of which we will also talk a little bit of. Then the next one is around what we call NLP, natural language processing. This is how we're able to the intersection and replication or the interpretation and replication of human languages by machines. So I'm sure you talk about things with Alexa, Siri. These are all different complex things that are beginning to evolve. And now there have been significant progress that has been made within this space as well. So from a Chat GPT perspective, we know that it was developed by OpenAI, and ChatGPT has been one of the most successful applications to have ever been deployed. And when you look at it around this generative pre-trained transformers, that's what GPT stands for. Primarily, that has significantly accelerated within this entire domain and space of what we'll be talking about today. All right. So let's quickly go down the path of the evolution of AI, of how we've come. So for most of you, you're aware that artificial intelligence is not something that is brand new to all of us. It has been around for many, many years. So going all the way back to 1955, that was the first time the phrase artificial intelligence was used. In 1966, MIT created this product called application or chatbot called Eliza. And Eliza was a chatbot pretty much to simulate conversation between a psychotherapist and whoever was using it on the other side. Then we saw significant progress around 2011 when Siri was the first intelligent speech assistant to be integrated within our phones, and that was what Apple brought to market. A couple of months after that, we saw another major breakthrough, and this is when IBM supercomputer Watson was able to play the game of Jeopardy, and Watson won the game handily against the two best players in the world at the time. Now, when you look forward in 2014, Alexa, which I believe many of us happen to have in our home, our virtual assistant, we can easily, hey, Alexa, what's the weather today? And Alexa will be able to tell you exactly what that is, right? So you got all of that. I apologize. I have one in my office, so I'm hoping that she's not going to blurb all here and tell me what that is. But anyway, but those are some of the things that we have. Then in 2017, we saw significant progress with AlphaGo. Google had developed this tool called application called AlphaGo, and AlphaGo was able to beat at the time the world champion for Go, the game of Go. And the game of Go is such a complex game that nobody at the time thought that a machine would be able to do that. But right after that breakthrough happened, that was when we know that we're on the cusp of seeing something significant shift. Then in 2018, ethical guidelines became a big issue. The European Union decided that they wanted to start putting in place some guardrails and guidelines to ensure that there will be ethics embedded within this powerful technology that we were beginning to see. 2022 was when we saw the significant breakthrough with OpenAI coming on the scene and releasing the ChatGPT at the time. I think it was 3.0, 3.5. But today, that has significantly accelerated where we are today as the human race. And this pretty much has led us to what we now call the age of artificial intelligence, which I believe is going to be significantly transformative on all of us. The way humans are able to engage with this particular application of this particular technology will significantly change the way that we will begin to perceive things in the way we work. So the projection is that there are significant economic impacts that we will begin to see emerge. There will be societal changes that are also on the rise. From an ethics perspective and fairness, that's a big concern today because there's still, I mean, this is still built by humans. We're still procuring data. We're still assembling the data. And if we have biases based into that, it takes away from that as well, or it contributes to the ongoing persistence of biases within our society. Security and privacy is another big issue, again, that we're beginning to see in this particular space. Regulation, there is a need for us to regulate. And there will be a lot of examples that we will bring up here. Education, there will be a need for us to get educated on how we can best leverage AI and how we can embed it into our daily lives and all of that. Now, moving forward, quite recently, I believe many of you on the call today may have heard about calls for us to slow down and rethink AI. So, two of the most prominent voices in this space has been Elon Musk at the time. But there are two perceptions to that. Again, there is one that, I mean, he was calling for the slowdown out of a major concern, and there are others that believe that because he got ousted by OpenAI, he had invested in another AI company that was significantly behind OpenAI. So if we could slow that down, that would allow his company that he had invested in to get caught up there. So those are the speculation in the marketplace around that. The guy who's supposed to be the godfather from Google around AI, Jeffrey Hinton, resigned because of his concerns around how far AI was going to go. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, presented to Congress a couple of months ago, and he was basically appealing to Congress for us to be able to put in place some guardrails around how we're going to manage this powerful and yet transformative tool. The World Health Organization has been on the forefront, raising the red flag and saying that slow down because there are a lot of things that are there right now. Because one of the biggest challenges, and this will have significant impacts on lives, and this is the extent to which AI is there. So if someone has malicious intent, can easily go out there and propagate misinformation across the internet that is generated like as if a professor or a scholarly individual had written a piece of paper, that can have significant impacts on many, many parts of the world. And this is just not the US. So there are other countries that will run with anything that looks like real, and that becomes law and gospel within their space. So there are a lot of things that are there that are beginning to emerge within this space. Just a data point that we just need to be mindful of, right? So as we progress, what's the current state of AI today? The current state of AI has significantly been transformative over the past couple of months with the arrival of what we call ChatGPT. And primarily, that's the phrase that we'll now leverage is generative AI. The projection is that it's the fastest growing and the highest potential and the most threatening innovation today as we see it. So when you look at ChatGPT, the Business Insider says ChatGPT is making progress towards a host of professional degrees, right? ChatGPT was able to eclipse 100 million users within a matter of weeks, right? Something that we've never seen before. You know, also when you look at Bill Gates also referring to AI, like ChatGPT is the most important innovation right now. So these are things that we're seeing. However, there's some major concerns. There's some major things that we need to be mindful of. And I'm sure many of us have heard about the fact that, hey, you know, is ChatGPT going to be a lifesaver or a job killer? The Washington Post had an article that they published a couple of months ago referring to this same piece. AI would take 20% of all jobs within the next 5 years, according to the Daily Mail. And there are a lot of things, right? There are people that are talking about fake news frenzy and all of these different things that are major concerns today. So yes, there are so many things that are happening within this particular space, but now it is just upon us now to be able to reflect and determine what's the right path forward for how we want to start leveraging this powerful tool and technology that has been developed. So from a business perspective, business leaders are also grappling with some major questions and concerns. So they're asking about what would be the recommendation of best practice for adopting this particular technology within the organization. Some of them are also asking, what are the risks associated with using ChatGPT in my business? So there are some folks that have gone all in, and there are others that are still tepid. There's others that are still, you know, on the fence about this. But at the same time, they're also asking about whether this will eliminate jobs. How is this going to impact the workforce? Can they prevent this? Right? And they're asking different questions around whether it can be customized for them to be able to fit in their own local context within the businesses that they run. With that being said, we believe that the impact of ChatGPT has been transformational on many industries, and we'll not go through all of them, but take financial services, for instance. Now they're able to engage in a more meaningful way, in a more personalized way when it comes to how they want to be able to engage with their customers. In retail, for instance, it has created this unique engaging where they're able to focus on high quality marketing to be able to target certain unique customers. With government agencies, for instance, they themselves, they're beginning to start leveraging chat gpt in a way that, it's where they can create a unique customer experience by leveraging chatbots and virtual assistants to be able to assist people with a wide range of inquiries. So in the state of Colorado, if I want to reach out and ask a question, I can easily use a chatbot that is very responsive, depending upon what we're looking for, that can easily respond to us on so many inquiries that we might have. But one of the key things here that is important for us to pay attention to is this green box that we've drawn from IMAC, right? So the IMAC group pretty much came up with this piece. What is called the global generative AI market size reached about $10.3 billion in 2023. That market size is supposed to grow up to 30.4 billion by 2028. And this is based upon a compounded annual growth with about 20% year over year. So this is pretty significant. This is a seismic shift in a technology that we've never seen have so profound of an impact, not only on just the earnings of technology companies, but on society as a whole. Now, when you look at a few other industries that have already embedded generative AI, it could be from healthcare to utilities to education to insurance company. One of the best pieces that we know of within education is what Khan Academy is doing with ChatGPT right now. So they were one of the earliest adopters of OpenAI, and they were able to create a virtual assistant primarily that can engage with you in a way where, as if you're having a true conversation, if you're going for tutoring, they will be able to engage, explain things to you, as opposed to you just getting the answer by yourself. But it provides that support for you to be able to go through where you got to do the work and you will come to your own deduction and they can validate and make sure that you're on the right path. So there's so many benefits that we're beginning to see within the industry of this. I mean, with that generative AI is contributing to the industries that we're currently working in. Now, at the same time, we know that there are some challenges and concerns that we need to be mindful of, potential risk, right? So some of these things that we're looking at today range anywhere from things like data privacy to job displacement, transparency, regulation, ethics, biases, and security. So these are all valid concerns, right? I mean, as a consumer or someone who's using the platform, the question that I would have, how protected is the data that we're providing to them, my personal data? From a bias perspective, that's another one again. The data sets that we're assembling, are these data sets pretty accurate in the sense that we can eliminate some of the biases that exist today in society, right? So there have been things about where it has been reported in many instances where, there are some there's some generative AI products that are out there today that pretty much discriminate against minority, right? So those are things that are there, right? Job displacement is a big concern. We saw that according to the Daily Mail, 20% of our job as we know it today will be displaced, right? Is it going to be displacement, or are we going to start looking at things like, from a job perspective, are we going to be looking at things along the line of augmentation with our jobs that we can leverage it to augment that? Transparency. It's a black box right now with everything that's happening behind the wall of OpenAI or behind the wall of what we call ChatGPT. We don't really know what's going on behind there. There is no transparency in the background, but how transparent are the operators willing to be? Security, how secure is that piece? Is it going to take my private information that will be exposed to someone who's going to hack the system, and that will have significant consequences and impact on that again? Ethics, as we're building these solutions, are we considering any major ethical guidelines? Are we being bounded by that? Regulations, we're still developing regulations. As you're fully aware, in the US today, we have no regulations. Canada has made some leap forward. They have a framework that they're working on. The Europeans have a framework that they're working on. And different parts of the world are coming up with different frameworks. Based on our research and studies, we believe that the US is beginning to have that meaningful conversation. The challenge here again, are we going to leave this to the industry to decide, or is this going to be something that we will have to be proactive about as leaders? And all of us on the call today, we consider everybody here as a leader, and you're a thought leader. What are we going to do to be able to ensure that we will be protected, and there should be some guardrails and some protection as we move forward? All right. So now, within the context of generative AI, the challenges and limitation that we're seeing is around accuracy, for instance. right? The information that we're getting today, some of them are inaccurate. Biases is still the AIs that are being developed and trained based on the data sets. There are still biases that are coming through from there. Another big thing that we see is around hallucination, where the AI pretty much does not really have any body of knowledge on that, but they can easily generate something as if it is, an opinion. They can even cite sources. So there was a great piece that I read about a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, I should say, and I want to believe it was NBC that went out to Google, and pretty much the guy asked a question about either inflation, and Bart was able to generate this beautiful piece, within the matter of minutes, right? About what is inflation, what's causing inflation, and even cited sources. So a couple of days after that, when they went back to validate and verify, everything that was cited in there was completely wrong. But the information was still accurate. They were able to give a good explanation of what that is. But now that is another big issue again. But how do we overcome this as a hurdle? The infrastructure required, large investment for us to be able to make those to build them out, and also transparency, like we talked about. There are supervised and unsupervised learning that will be taking place. But how do we ensure that there is some level of transparency that is going to help protect all of the things that we're trying to do? Now, with that being said, it creates this unique opportunity for a very interesting topic that we'll call governance. So, within the context of governance, there are challenges that we see today as we look at this whole space of AI and even generative AI, right? Around misinformation, for instance, that's a big piece. One of the things that we see up here is going to be deep fake that will emerge, right? So, with regards to misinformation and representing things that are unprovable. So there are two interesting things that I will talk to here. One of them is that with the upcoming elections that we will begin to see next year, I think we would have made significant advancement, because even right now, what we're looking at is child's play compared to where we'll be in a couple of months. And these deep fakes are becoming so real. So you can have your opponent, if you're running in a race, can pretty much decide to put together a whole piece discounting every single principles that you believe in, and saying that like you're in a private meeting and you're just chatting with your closest friends and saying all the things against everything that you stand for. And the question here is that if this happened to a major candidate, right, just before the election, what profound impact would this be able to have on that person, not only just that election, but now for subsequent elections to come? Again, there is another story that I saw recently, or I read about, was one of a news anchor where she was being interviewed by another person, and she was touting the power, the efficacy, and the potency of a particular health drug that had to do with weight loss. And it shows her before picture and after picture, where pretty much about touting the fact that she was skeptical about this particular pill, but once she started taking that, within 4 weeks, she was able to lose X amount of pounds and all of that. Right. So again, that was completely off. It was baseless. It wasn't true. But the deepfake looked so real when you took a real picture and put it next to her. You could not even tell the big difference that was there. Right. So that was it. The next one is around the role of big tech in trying to bring about governance. Do we really trust big tech to govern themselves? If supposed to go on historical precedents or historical references, the answer to that would be absolutely not, because they haven't been able to do it any way better than anybody else. Right. So we see all of these shifting things that are beginning to emerge. There'll be conflict of interest, for instance, that will begin to emerge there. One of the big things, again, that we just talked about, are we going to be looking at job augmentation, or are we going to be looking at job displacements within this whole place of governance? So from a job augmentation perspective, can we leverage AI to work alongside us? And I think that the smart organizations are beginning to embrace that concept, as opposed to people thinking that my job will be displaced. And if we go back, I don't know how many years back, if you remember, we talked about the fact that accountants were going to be replaced because we didn't really need them, because we had computer software that could easily do all of our accounting for us. And it happens to not be true. We still have accountants, we still have CPAs, and it's still one of the fastest growing professions in the world. So some of these things are misplaced and some of them are unfounded, but it's all about our perspective on how we want to do it. Another big issue, again, that is going to emerge, or that has emerged, has been around copyrights and legal framework for how all of these things are beginning to evolve. I think the most important case, or the most highly publicized case, is around Getty's image and Stability AI. So early this year, I want to believe in February, Getty filed a lawsuit uh, seeking claim against damages against Stability AI, that they had infringed upon I think 12 millions of the images, and they have reproduced them in a way without getting any consent from them. And as a result of that, it resulted to damages, both from an image perspective and also from a financial perspective. So that's a big lawsuit that is currently going on. So as you look at things like Mid-Journey, for instance, I had the chance to take a look at a picture, and I want to believe that it was about Mona Lisa, the picture of Mona Lisa that was created, and also another picture that was the original one, and also the one that was created by Mid-Journey. The Mid-Journey one looks more like the original, and a lot of people voted for the fake, and to say that the fake was the original and the original was the fake. So, but that is the extent to which we're beginning to see this progress that is being made. But at the same time, these are big ethical issues that we're dealing with, and we all need to grapple with. But the most important thing here today is because this has set the stage now for us to start having conversation around responsible AI, right? So as we begin to think about it, we're getting ready for this whole concept or this whole purpose of why we're building this. We got to be responsible. Just looking at the complexity of things that are on the horizon. So now we believe that business leaders must be able to manage all of the associated risks by beginning to position this. Technology breakthrough has been so significant. We've got major momentum around AI, ML. Those are things that are moving. And now the ethical concerns are beginning to emerge. The question here is that, how are we going to deal with this? What is the responsible way to do it? So if you will permit me, here is a definition again, or a quote again from the World Economic Forum about defining what responsible AI is. Responsible AI is the practice of designing, building, and deploying AI in a manner that empowers people and business and fairly impact customers and society, allowing companies to engender trust and scale AI with confidence. So this is what we're talking about with regards to this. How are we going to act in a very responsible manner? How are we going to be respectful? How are we going to be fair? How are we going to be mindful of all of the key things that are there? So within the industry, there have been these things called the what is referred to as the responsible AI guiding principles. And it ranges from anywhere from privacy. So as we're building AI, we want to use this now for us to be, as we're building our solutions and our tools that will enable us to be able to work in a more productive way. We want to consider privacy. Privacy pretty much is that there will be people data that will be involved, individual data. We want to be respectful of that, that we're using it. We understand what the limitations and implications are. Fairness and bias detection. We want to make sure that there is something that we're going to embed in there, especially around the data sets. So if we have data that is already complaining about the fact that a certain group in our society, a particular area in our society does not represent this particular piece, and that will be discriminated against, we want to be mindful of that as well. Explainability and transparency. So we should be able to, I mean, whatever decision, we should be able to explain effectively as to how that, I mean, how we came to that and what the outcome and outputs are supposed to be. Safety and security. We've talked about that quite a bit. Validity and reliability is another one. Again, we want to make sure that we're monitoring the data to ensure that whatever we're going to use is going to be reliable enough. And one of the most important pieces in here will be around accountability. So with that being said, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Abby, this is where we pause and we're supposed to do a poll, right?
Yeah, I'm going to launch this next one here for you guys. Curious what resonates
great.
most with you out of these principles. Go ahead and rank the top 3 of these. I'll give this a minute. If you guys have any other questions, go ahead and post those in the Q&A tab at the top, but I'm seeing some great comments as well.
Okay. All right. Well,
Everyone.
thank you again. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. So moving on, primarily, this has given us now the need for us to start considering responsible AI. And that is where we believe the future of all the work that we need to do, not only because of the fact that there are all of these concerns, but as you know, good public actors, we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we want to be responsible citizens, we want to be responsible companies, we'll hold ourselves to higher ethical standards, so we will not subscribe to certain things. With that being said, quite recently, I stumbled over this article that was written by BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, and they had quoted this particular study from the Center for Governance of AI at the University of Oxford. And primarily was responsible AI principles have not altered AI practices. So 80% of those who were surveyed, the respondents, said that they believe that AI should be carefully managed, right? Out of the group of people, I don't know what the end number was, but that was what it is. 84% of the companies that participated in this survey also have already set some AI principles that they were going to adopt and embed within their own practices as they move forward. 78% of tech workers who was part of this study said that they wanted help in managing ethical challenges for product development, especially around artificial intelligence. So what that means is that we're clamoring as a people for how we want to be able to consider this new frontier that we're dealing with. It's a unique opportunity. It's a unique place for us to be right now. But how are we going to do this? We need to do it in a very responsible way. And part of the way that we want to do it is that as we're considering responsible AI, over the past months, we've been fortunate enough to engage with some of our clients to be able to help them develop the right structure. And the way we build it is a five simple step for how we can implement responsible AI within your organization. So, from a framework perspective or from a higher step perspective, there are five things that we can easily do today. Right. The first one is that as you're beginning, you want to make sure your AI strategy is aligned to the business strategy. Right. We know our business strategy is focused on driving major outcomes, be it financial, be it customer, be it societal, environmental. We want to make sure that we're embedded in there. Right. So we're not, our AI strategy will not run rogue primarily, in contrast to what the business is trying to do. So for us to be able to get the right momentum and align, we want to make sure that our AI strategy is aligned to the business strategy. From there, we went through the six different principles, responsible AI guiding principles. We want to make sure that we install that into our system and our solutions as we begin to start building them. The next major one would be around establishing AI governance. And this is about responsibility, accountability, ownership, and oversight. So we want to make sure that what is our governance framework to ensure that we will be adhering to all of the best practices that we've developed, the guiding principles that we subscribe to, because if left in a vacuum for to just one department, there might be someone who might decide that they want to be a little bit more aggressive and they want to be able to go out and do certain things, and that will violate all of that. So having the right governance framework in place is going to be critical for you and your organization. Then from there, you can prioritize your opportunities. And we'll walk you through how you can easily do that. What is the right path? Create a tactical roadmap for how you can execute and how you can scale your AI solution as you move forward. Okay. So as we're getting ready to wrap up here, one of the key things that we will talk about is that if you're going to implement responsible AI, there are some best practices, or this is what we've developed ourselves, and this is what we've used to work with our clients. So you can draw from this yourself as you're leading your own organization. So what we will recommend is that you start off by looking at a workshop. And from our perspective, our workshops are usually geared towards working with our clients, where we will come in and define the key objectives for what we're trying to accomplish, the goals and expected outcomes. Then we'll spend some time educating them and bringing them up to speed, all of our key stakeholders, on the leading trends that we see in this space. From there, we'll discuss the possibility of an AI cost benefit economic model and looking at within their organization, what are the right opportunities that we need to go after. We'll spend some time reviewing core business processes with our clients to see where would be the best fit and where they can benefit from most significantly. So if they can be adopted in the customer care center, if it can be adopted around finance and accounting, if it can be adopted in operations, where exactly can we put this that can generate significant return on investments for you? Then the other piece again is to identify the quick wins. So we map out this board that shows all the different examples on the simple things that you can do. Is based on a tool that we built. It's called the Impact Effort Matrix that looks at it from the standpoint where you can get the most impact by looking at these basic efforts that you can take to get the outcomes that you're looking for. From there, we create a high-level business case, and here are some examples of the deliverables. In the assessment phase, what we would do is that we will start off by looking at conducting what we call a target process scan. So based upon the target, based upon the opportunities that we identify, let's assume that we identify two unique opportunities there. One, if we put this in our customer care center, this will accelerate performance and productivity. We'll be a little bit more responsive. We can engage, we can resell, we can optimize and deliver more value. But if we decide to put this in operations, here are the other benefits that we can also derive from here. It also improves this. So we will conduct both of them. And again, based on some mathematical equations and determination, we'll be able to pick out the one that will be the most applicable. So we'll execute this opportunity assessment to target the right processes that can leverage that. Then we'll build a business case. Then we talk about selecting the right AI tool. We have a methodology that we've developed around AI tool selection that will best fit your organization if you decide to leverage that. Then you'll move into your design phase, is where you begin to start preparing your process to embed artificial intelligence or whatever it is in there, finalize your tool selection. You'll work with the vendor and set up the environment for them to be able to execute and prepare for the pilot, get your digital worker ready to be able to execute on the process. Then from there, we roll into the pilot phase where we can start piloting that. We want to make sure that we'll build a user acceptance test and deploy that. Make sure that you evaluate the results that you get from your pilot. From there, you also want to identify the benefits and shortfalls, and also create an improvement plan for what you can do different to be able to move forward, communicate the results, and develop a plan to scale, right? Now, if we take this on a comprehensive level, this is what it will look like. In the discovery phase, these are the activities that we'll be doing, is exploring the solutions, understanding the value. From there, you want to set the strategy or AI strategy, make sure that it is aligned to that organization. You mobilize, you plan, and you execute the plan, right? So those are the higher levels things that we'll be doing. So from there, you come back and look at the enterprise mobilization and deployment. This is where you set up the program itself, and you also set some long-term operational models to be able to help you get there. Then the next one is to build to execute. Our best practice is that after we identify the opportunities for your pilot, you might be able to run your pilot anywhere between 2 to 3 months. It's quick enough for you to be able to examine the impact, the results. It could be anywhere between 4 to 5 opportunities that you want to be able to look at. But depending upon how large your organization might be or how small it might be, you might want to pick 2 or 3 of them and say, look, here's where we want to deploy this to see the outcome. From there, you can build a program over the next few months, all the way up into the future for how you can best execute and move this forward. So this is a very practical, proven methodology or approach that we use for us to pilot to scale. And that's what we'll all easily do. All right. With that being said, I would like to share some final thoughts. As we look at AI, and I think what is the beauty of it from our perspective is that we're currently at one of what I would like to call the precipice of human existence, where we're beginning to leverage machines as we've never really done before. And this is not just machine like robots that can easily go out and move things to do manual labor. For the longest time, that had profound impact on productivity, and we saw the impact it had on industries when we decided to bring in machines and all of that. But now we're talking about the ability for machines to begin to start thinking and processing like humans on certain tasks that they can easily execute for us. So I believe that it is going to be transformational. This is the most exciting time in the human existence, not only for the opportunities that is going to create for all of us, but also for the contributions that they will also be able to provide. So this is where we are right now. So with that being said, we believe that AI is going to be extremely impactful and helpful to every one of us that are here. As we look at these 4 major elements here, our knowledge and our learning will improve significantly, right? It is going to boost creativity and productivity. So work that we used to once upon a time just leave for us to do manually, we can bring some AI capabilities to bear that can help us significantly move that work forward, right? There are a lot of opportunities that have emerged that we're beginning to see. It will enable others to be able to become more innovative. So there are folks that are beginning to build other solutions based upon the generative AI products that we have in the marketplace today. It's beginning to drive us to that next level. The last and the most important one here will be for us to build and deploy responsibly. And that's the whole essence of this. So as we're beginning to develop this, we might be a little bit more out of our anxiousness and out of the excitement that we want to see out there. But I believe that we should approach this with greater caution and greater care. So let us build and deploy our AI solutions in a very responsible manner, something that will conform to the fact that we want to be responsible citizens, we want to be ethical, we want to be fair, and at the same time, we also want to be able to make sure that it's going to be meaningful and it will have meaningful impact on our lives and the rest of us that live in society today. With that being said, I would like to say thank you again for giving us the opportunity to connect with you. And thank you for being part of this discussion. So we have a free readiness assessment if you want to check it out. go ahead and put it in there. We'll be happy to just talk to you about a few things that you might want to consider as you're going down this particular path. So it's a great opportunity again for us to be able to engage. So if you want to open up your camera, take a picture of this or scan the QR code, download that information, and we'll be happy to follow up with you on that. Okay, if there, then we'll now pivot and go to Q&A. So Abby, over to you, my friend.
If you do have any questions, you can contact us at any point. Follow up on the website if you want to continue the conversation and kind of explore solutions that suit you and your custom needs a little bit more. We'd love to explore that a little bit further with you on an individual level. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thanks, Alvin, for leading us.
All right. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful day. It's great meeting everybody. Bye-bye now.